Paul George for Jaylen Brown in a blockbuster move. What's going on, guys? Sean here, just coming at y'all with some big Sixers news. Obviously, if you haven't heard the news yet, the Sixers trade Paul George for Jaylen Brown. Sixers give up 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and Paul George to bring him Jaylen Brown. Neither of those picks are the Clippers picks. We'll get into all that and more here in just a second. But if you're new here, guys, I appreciate y'all coming through. Please like, please subscribe. We're going to be doing this all off season, all the NBA news, all the NFL news, a little bit of everything. So again, if you're new here, please like, please subscribe, hit the bell. That way you don't miss any of this content in the future, okay? So digging right into things, obviously, I wanted to show the graphic here. After trading Paul George for a much younger, much better version of the same player, this is what the 76ers are going to look like if healthy at the beginning of the year. Tyrese Maxey, BJ Edgecombe, Jaylen Brown, Dean Wade, and Joel Embiid. Obviously, that still leaves you with the rookie coming off the bench, Dominic Barlow, Adem Bona, the new center they just brought in. So bench is still looking a little light. We're going to definitely be addressing that, hopefully bringing some more guys in going into the second apron. But we're going to stick with Jaylen Brown for today. This is unbelievable. This is big-time news. Never would have thought the Sixers had the balls to make a move like this. Just absolutely no chance I would have said at any point that we were going to get involved in this. I've done a couple videos talking about the Jaylen Brown stuff, and I've never once said, yep, 76ers are going to go get that guy, because you just, as a Sixers fan, you didn't think there was a chance in hell that we make a move like this. To be honest, I've been really light on the Sixers content this offseason. Earlier today was the first time I've really covered anything because I just didn't expect much from Mike Gansey and from this squad. I just thought it was going to be a lot of the same stuff, just re-rolled into a new president, new GM, whatever the hell he is. But looking here, Jaylen Brown last season, obviously we all know what he did: 28.7 points per game, almost 7 rebounds and 5 assists. Playing as the only star on that team, the only superstar on that team. Being just blunt and honest, this is a huge upgrade for the 76ers. I'm going to come out with a lot of positivity. I'm going to talk very highly of this trade because from the 76ers standpoint, we got a lot better with this trade. Now, that doesn't magically make Jaylen Brown the end-all be-all. That doesn't mean that he's going to come in and fix every issue that this team has. Doesn't mean that he's going to do anything for us. He still has his own flaws and his own issues that he's going to have to work through. Now, if Jaylen Brown is locked in and he comes in and does what he's really, really good at, he is one of the best role players in the NBA. Having Tyrese Maxey, having Joel Embiid to carry the scoring load, he's not going to be asked to do everything. But when Joel's hurt, when Tyrese isn't hitting shots, this is a guy that can come in and absolutely put up 20 points. What's he going to do in the fourth quarter? That's a little bit more of a question. Hasn't been the greatest closer. Obviously, cannot do it alone. But he's going to come into a team where he doesn't have to. If he's willing to buy into Nick Nurse's scheme, willing to play a lot of minutes, because that's really what the scheme is play your starting 5 as much as humanly possible. Come in, hit threes, play defense. It's going to be a huge upgrade. It's going to be a huge upgrade for the 76ers. I cannot stress that enough, how much of a difference this is going to make for us this year moving forward. I mean, I was talking highly of Paul George earlier today because I don't hate Paul George. I hate the contract, but I don't hate Paul George. But I was saying at the end of the season, he played pretty good ball. It's just he doesn't have the scoring output. He doesn't have the age anymore that he had before to do what he did when he was younger. So, we got the best version of Paul George that we could have hoped for. Unfortunately, we just overpaid for him. And that's really what made the signing so terrible, is because you could have brought in so many other pieces. Now, with Jaylen Brown, he's still in the peak of his career. He's still peak health, doesn't miss a lot of time, it seems like, from what I've seen. He's given us fits, 100 different games that I could think of. Obviously not 100, a ton of different games that I could think of where he just gave the Sixers fits and, ruined our chances at this and that. And just, he's going to be big for the Sixers. I can't overstate that enough. Thought this was hilarious. Boston got late picks and the corpse of Paul George for Jaylen Brown. Um, from a Celtics standpoint, I would really be interested to see what they think of this, to see how they feel about everything that's going on. I can't imagine as a Celtics fan you're happy about this. I just feel like a bunch of late round picks, 4 late round picks for Jaylen Brown. You were talking about wanting 4 first when the reports started, to take 4 late round picks and Paul George. And again, Paul George last season wasn't terrible, but for the price, you need so much more. I imagine he'll do well on the Celtics, so this isn't a total bust for the Celtics in the short term, but it is for the long term. And you're never trading that Paul George contract either. So, the fact that they were willing to pick it up, most Sixers fans didn't think there was a chance in hell of getting rid of him. So they can now endure what we thought we were going to have to go through, where inevitably you're going to have to give up picks in return to dump that contract later. So, they're just working themselves in circles. There we go. 28 first round pick that could convert from a first to a swap that is more favorable to Boston. 2031 unprotected Philadelphia first. 2028 second round pick most favorable of Golden State, OKC, and Milwaukee. Probably going to be Milwaukee. 2030 second most favorable of Washington, Portland, and Phoenix. That one's kind of a toss up. But as I said before, didn't give up any of the Clippers picks. I really don't understand how they didn't give up anything for the Clippers. You had to think, as the Boston Celtics, you're giving up Jaylen Brown for an older player. You're taking on this contract. There's no way that this ends well. If you're the Boston Celtics, you're trading within your own conference. You want to send Jaylen Brown as far away as possible. In all reality, the gap between the Celtics and the other top contenders in the East was pretty big if you weren't going to have Jaylen Brown. So you had to think that they were going to bring somebody in, try to bring somebody in who is going to have an immediate and a future impact with the team, someone who is going to grow with Jason Tatum over the years. Paul George and Jason Tatum is just more of the same. It's a hat on a hat. You're bringing in 2 of the same guys to do the same things, who like to play the same positions, and it hasn't worked for years with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum until they had all the help in the world. They had the Derek Brown, they had the Drew Holiday, it worked once you had all the pieces in place, but the chances of them being able to put that type of team together again is slim to none. And then you look at the gap between them and New York, obviously the Eastern Conference champions and, NBA champions. They don't have a fraction of what New York has. I mean, even if Derek White has an absolutely amazing season, it's going to take so much from so many other people to make this Celtics team click and just win this year. I just don't really see it happening. I don't understand the logic of the Celtics. I feel like it's one of those trades on paper you're like, yeah, that's good. And then you think about how old you think about how old Paul George is, and it's like, you kind of think about it, and it's like, suddenly this isn't a good idea anymore. I mean, you traded, for a worse version of the same player and 4 late round picks. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm going to say this till the end of time. I did a plea for LeBron earlier today in the video I put out, the Daily Static episode 3 today, just covering a lot of NBA trade news and a lot of stuff that happened earlier. I put out a little plea like, LeBron James, please come to Philly. Just bring this poverty franchise, some light, just something, to give us hope. And now, as LeBron James, like, if you're genuinely looking around the league, if you haven't already made a decision, I know Joel Embiid is Mr. Glass at this point. I know he can't stay healthy for more than a couple games. But if you're LeBron James, you have to look at this and you have to at least, think about it. If you move Dean Wade to the bench, you've got the rookie Phylon and you've got Dean Wade coming off the bench playing rotation minutes. Find a decent little center rotation. They don't got to be great. They just got to be good enough, have a little bit of defensive presence. I mean, you put LeBron James in this lineup, and it's game over. It's game over. And I know they say here about the vet minimum. There's probably a way we could pay him something, sign and trade, something along those lines. So if there's any chance in hell, any chance that we could get LeBron, we have to get on the phone. Like, this is one of those years where the Eastern Conference runs through New York. Obviously, Giannis in Miami is going to make some noise, but, there's no set order this year. It's New York at number 1, and then it's a lot of question marks below that. So you have to feel good about at least being able to get to the playoffs, win a couple games, get into the second round, maybe the finals. I mean, I know LeBron is getting older. I know Joel's built from glass. I know anything can happen this year, but it would be an unbelievable turn of events if somehow, we were able to talk LeBron into coming in this year and playing with this team. It would be unbelievable. I know no chance in hell, but, this team is definitely someone you have to look at. We should probably talk a little bit basketball about what this means for the 76ers. Obviously, all of this is based on health. This is all going to be based on, how things go this year. There's still a lot of offseason left, lots of trades. The Sixers are not done. I imagine that there's more to come after this. If the new GM, Mike Gansey, is willing to take a splash like this, who knows what else he has planned this offseason. It could be anything. Nobody thought Paul George was getting moved. So from a basketball standpoint, if healthy, Joel Embiid and Jaylen Brown two-man game, pick and roll, is unbelievable. Defensively, Jaylen Brown becomes your best defender day one. He's going to cover the best guy out, allows Maxey and VJ to focus a little more offensively, not have quite the same pressure on them. That'll give them a lot more energy into the fourth quarter, give them a chance to take breathers here and there. It's going to change a lot of what you're doing with Tyrese. You might see a scoring dip this year, but it's because you're giving that scoring to somebody else who's not, 51 years old and a drug addict. But Jaylen Brown instantly comes in, becomes your best defender. He also brings in 5 assists per game. He is willing to facilitate. He's willing to do a little bit. He'll see the open man. He'll kick it out to the corner. He's not stupid when it comes to passing and spreading the ball around on the floor. That'll be a big thing. Dean Wade coming in, it's going to bring a big load off Dean Wade. Jaylen will also be able to slide into the 4, depending on what our top 3 look like. Maxey, Edgecombe, you want to try Phylon in there, maybe a Jaylen Brown, Joel Embiid lineup. I don't think Jaylen is covering super, super big guys in the paint, but I know he is 6'9". He's got some weight to him, so I imagine he'll be able to do some damage there. Jaylen VJ game, I imagine that'll translate well, throwing up lobs to each other. Easy money there. And then Tyrese and Jaylen pick and roll even. Tyrese being able to kick it out, having another guy on the team who might not have the biggest bag full of moves. He doesn't have one specific go-to, but he does a lot of things well. So you'll be able to trust him in those certain points in the game to bring the scoring up, to really help you out. And all of that being said, maybe Jaylen Brown's better than we think. Maybe we've just been Sixers fans and we have talked ourselves into believing he's not good at basketball, even though he is a finals MVP. And he has done a lot of good things for his team over the years. He carried a very bum roster to the playoffs last year. Tatum came back and then immediately left again. That obviously would have changed a lot of lineups, play calling, things you're doing on offense and defense. So Jaylen Brown went through a lot last year. Let's not act like nothing happened. Let's not act like it isn't a thing. So we'll add that into the equation and say maybe Jaylen takes a huge step this year. Maybe he becomes the Sixers' best player this year. I love Maxey. I love VJ. I love Joel. But I have watched these guys now, VJ for 1 year, Maxey for a bunch of years, Joel for a bunch of years. Um, if Maxey wants to win, if Jaylen comes in and he is the clear-cut scorer, if everything is going well for him, if everything is going in for him, Maxey has no problem being Robin. Joel Embiid's health is always a question. Last year, he took a backseat in a lot of games. There were a lot of games where you saw the offense running through Maxey and you saw that development and speed up and down the court, and Joel took a backseat to it. If he can move, if he can do the basic basketball stuff and not struggle too much to stay on the court when it comes time to really play meaningful basketball, then you can run the offense through someone else. It'll change what you do on the court. So I believe now wholeheartedly you have 4 guys that can come out and drop 20 points if needed. I completely believe that. I think Dean Wade is a little bit of a wild card. He's a little bit of a spotty shooter, but he's a good defender. He's going to come out and do a lot of things well. Obviously, he's making less than $10 million a year, so you kind of know what to expect when a player's landing in that range. But solid starter. Hopefully, he'll be able to cover a lot of decent minutes this year and just be the glue guy that helps everybody else kind of connect throughout the year. So, all right, guys. I'm not going to say too much more. I'm probably just going to shrink this live stream down into a video and then release it. Maybe do a little bit of editing later. Maybe not. Maybe just leave it as it is right now. But I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Tell me what you think about Jaylen Brown being a 76er. I still cannot believe it. I'm kind of losing my mind still over it because even though I've talked so much shit about Jaylen Brown over the years and over the past couple months and everything, he's a huge upgrade to the Sixers. There's just no denying how big of an upgrade he is to the Sixers. So before we get out of here, we'll check Twitter one more time. We'll see if anything else has come up. All right, guys, we're just going to call it here. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I'll catch you guys next time. Thank you so much for joining.